Also new to X3's Melodyne, the pitch and timing correction software from Celomany. There's also a new method for adding this type of effect, including V-vocal, known as region effects. The Melodyne version included is Essentials, which is the more basic version, but it does provide an upgrade path to the full editor version should you need the more advanced functions. The full editor version includes the ability to work with individual notes in polyphonic material and more pitch correction tools. It can run as a standalone editor, but we're going to be looking at using it within Sonar. Let's see how to use it. We'll start by sweep selecting part of a vocal track that we wish to correct. Select Create Region Effects from the Melodyne submenu, which is found in the Region Effects menu heading of the Track View menu. This opens Melodyne in the multi-dock and creates a Melodyne clip in the track. This Melodyne clip is easily identified by a green background colour. The Melodyne Edit window can also be opened by double-clicking on a Melodyne clip or selecting the clip and choosing Open Editor from the Melodyne submenu in the Track View Region Effects menu. Let's maximise the multi-dock and take an overview of the interface. At the very top is the menu with access to various functions and options. Beneath that is a toolbar and information display area. To the far right are two buttons that give access to the automatic correction functions, one for pitch, the other timing. We'll look at these in detail shortly. Next down is the time ruler. This functions in a very similar way to the time ruler in the main program. Click drag up and down in the top half to zoom in and out, and click drag left or right to scrub the track. At either limit of the view it will also scroll. Click once in it to position the now time. Double click to start playback from that point. Click drag in the lower half to set up a loop region. Double click within the loop region to turn looping on and off. Towards the left is the pitch ruler with the various note names. Above this is a menu for adjusting both the time and pitch grid resolutions, as well as scale and other options. Select Scales and Master Tuning to expand the ruler. The current detected scale is highlighted. To change scale, click on the root note of the required scale and select your choice from the menu. At the top, there may be a scale name preceded by an equals sign. This indicates an alternative name for the current scale. For any scale other than major or minor, click on Open Scale, and this opens the scale window where there are more choices of scales and modes. Click on the one you want to use. You can preview each scale by clicking on the speaker icon beside the name. The ability to preview scale is also in the initial menu and at the top of the scale ruler. To turn scale snapping on or off, click on the menu at the top of the pitch ruler and make your choice from that pitch grid submenu. Shrink the scale window again by deselecting the option in the menu. Now let's take a look at the main editing area. As well as using the time ruler to zoom, it's possible to click drag the ends of the scroll bar to zoom in and out, and then scroll to the required region. This works in both the vertical and horizontal scales. The blobs can be scaled using the slider in the bottom right corner. This doesn't affect anything other than the actual blob size. Select the Zoom tool from the toolbar and click drag in the editing window to zoom in or out. Left or right adjust the horizontal, up and down the vertical, or diagonally both scales. Select the Scroll tool and click drag in the edit window to scroll. Now we've had an overview of the interface, let's look at how to use it. When the region effects is generated, Melodyne detects the notes and they are represented here as blobs. Their time position is reflected by the time ruler and pitch is relative to the pitch rulers we've just looked at. Depending on material in a track, Melodyne will have used either a melodic or percussive algorithm. The type can be changed from the algorithm menu if the wrong type was used. Note that switching algorithm will remove any existing edits though. If notes haven't been detected correctly, click on the detection mode icon in the toolbar. The background changes hue slightly to indicate that detection mode is selected. In this mode, you'll see the same blobs as in the edit mode, but there are also ghosted blobs that are potential notes. Double-clicking one of these ghosted blobs to switch it to the active note. The original active note now becomes the potential note and is ghosted. Toward the top half of the blob, the tool changes to the separation tool. Double-click to create a separation point and create a separate blob. This is useful if Melodyne has only detected one note, there are actually two. Two separate notes can also be joined by double-clicking on an existing separation point. Note that this separation and joining can also be done in the main edit window. Click-drag on a blob to hear the audio and pitch at that point, and if it's easier to hear the pitch via a synthesized note, click on the sine wave icon. Click-drag on it to adjust volume. Switch back to edit mode by clicking on one of the other tools. Edit mode is where the blobs can be moved to change the pitch and time of the audio. This is done using the main tool. Select the blobs to edit by either clicking on them or using lasso select. Shift-click can be used to add blobs to an existing selection. Step through individual blobs using the left and right arrow keys. Information on the current individual selected blob is displayed in the toolbar. Once blobs have been selected, they can be moved up or down to adjust pitch, and left or right to adjust timing. Move the cursor toward the middle of the blob and then click-drag in the required direction. It is the initial direction that controls whether pitch or timing is adjusted. You'll need to release the click and reapply if you wish to change from timing to pitch, or vice versa. Moving notes will follow any snap settings such as the active grid or scale. To temporarily override this, hold down the Alt key. You can now click-drag to an exact point rather than a snap point. It's also possible to adjust note length. First, make sure that the Show Note Separations is checked in the View menu. Move the cursor over one of the vertical lines at the note end or start, depending on which part of the note you want to move. Click-drag either left or right to stretch or shrink the note. This action is different to moving the note, as it is only the start or end that moves. The note itself is stretched or shrunk accordingly. Notice that if there is an adjoining note at the start or end of it, it's also changed to maintain a smooth transition from one note to the next. If you don't want this transition change to happen, you'll need to cut and paste the note. To do that, select the required note and either select Cut from the right-click menu or press Ctrl+X. Position the now time at the point you wish to paste the note and select Paste from the right-click menu or press Ctrl+V. The note is pasted and is now independent of any adjoining notes. This is indicated by brackets at the ends of the relevant notes. Notes can be copied and pasted using a similar method. Once pasted, they can be moved as required, perhaps to create harmony parts, for example. As well as manually editing notes, there is an automatic mode. Click on the relevant button toward the top right corner of the display. The correct pitch center slider corresponds to the note pitch. At 0%, blobs aren't moved at all. At 100%, they are by default moved to the exact pitch of the nearest semitone. If the Snap to Scale checkbox is checked, notes will be moved to the nearest scale note instead. The correct pitch drift will correct any slow pitch fluctuations caused by back technique. It does not affect vibrato. Any notes that have been edited manually will be ignored by this automatic process unless the Include Notes Already Edited Manually checkbox is checked. The changes happen in real time as these parameters are adjusted, so you can hear the effect if playback is running. Now let's look at the Quantize Time function. First, check the Show Note Separation option. This creates short vertical lines at the beginning of the blobs indicating the note start positions. Select the blobs that are to have their timing corrected and then click on Quantize Time. Along the top are the musical resolution options that can be chosen as reference points for the timing correction. If set to none, Melodyne uses its own reference points that are calculated when it's analysed the material. The intensity slider governs how close to these reference points the note starts are moved. At 0, they won't move at all. At 50%, they will move halfway to the target reference points. And at 100%, they will line up exactly with the target reference points. The dialog also has an option to affect manually moved notes or not. Once you've finished editing the clip, use the compare icon in the top left corner to bypass processing so that you can compare the processed and unprocessed versions. You can also use Melodyne to generate MIDI notes from a Melodyne clip. To do that, close the multi-dock and return to the track view. From here, drag the Melodyne clip across to a MIDI track. There's no need to hold down the control key. The original clip will remain in place and a MIDI clip with the relevant notes is created. Remember that holding the Shift key down will constrain the clip start point to the original clip start position. Alternatively, select the Melodyne clip and choose Copy MIDI Events from the Melodyne submenu of the Track View's Region Effects menu. This data can then be pasted either in the track view into a MIDI track or in the PRV. Another great feature of having Melodyne installed is that any audio clip can be transformed into a MIDI clip by simply dragging the clip into a MIDI track. There's no need to do anything else, just drag and drop. One of the limitations of Melodyne Essentials, however, is that any created MIDI clip will be monophonic. Melodyne Editor, the full version though, can create polyphonic MIDI from audio. And that's Melodyne Essentials, a great introduction version of the superb pitch and timing correction software.